Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to just imagine for a second a version of the justice system where there is no trial.
Right.
There's no jury of your peers. There's no appeal process at all.
None.
There is just an algorithm, a completely cold, unfeeling piece of code that crunches your data. And I mean everything. Your texts, your location history, your financial records, the weird things you search for at 2 in the morning.
Oh, we all have those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it takes all of that, and it decides you are a problem. And the sentence isn't a fine or even prison.
No, it's not.
It's deletion.
It really sounds like something out of a Philip K. Dick novel, doesn't it?
Yeah, or like...
Or like Minority Report meets the NSA or something.
Exactly.
But the thing is, what you're describing isn't just some dystopian fantasy. It is the very real, terrifying central premise of the book we are taking a deep dive into today.
It really is. Today we're doing a deep dive into The House of Cross. This is book 33 of 35 in the legendary Alex Cross series by James Patterson.
33 books. It's incredible.
It's a massive legacy. And look, usually when we talk about Alex Cross, we are talking about street-level grit.
Right. You think of Washington, D.C., alleys, local crime.
Yes, we're talking about a detective hunting a serial killer in the shadows of D.C., dealing with personal vendettas, protecting his family from, immediate physical threats. Someone is literally outside the house.
Oh, yeah, it's usually intimate violence.
Exactly.
It's very one-on-one, the monster of the week, so to speak.
That's a good way to put it. But this one feels entirely different. The scale here is just massive.
It really is.
We're looking at a story that involves the systematic assassination of federal judges, a totally reclusive tech billionaire who honestly makes the current crop of real-world tech bros look like absolute saints.
Oh, without a doubt.
And a vigilante organization that has somehow decided the United States Supreme Court requires a, hard reset.
It is a significant pivot for the series, and honestly, it's a fascinating one. What Patterson is doing here is taking the core elements of the Alex Cross universe.
Family dynamics, right?
Exactly. The family dynamics, his sheer dedication to the law, that moral compass that always points true north, and he's smashing all of that up against a threat that is almost abstract in its power.
Yeah, it's not a guy with a gun in a dark alley.
No, we are talking about the intersection of extreme surveillance technology and a very warped, a very dangerous sense of morality.
And the central question here is just terrifying to me. What happens when a God complex meets unlimited data surveillance?
It's a bad combination.
We're not just hunting a serial killer this time, we're hunting an algorithm.
Yeah.
Or, I guess, the people hiding behind one.
And the villain here, well, we will get to him in detail later, but this isn't an antagonist who just wants to kill Alex Cross.
Right.
In a really twisted way, he actually wants to hire him.
Which is such a brilliant hook, it turns the whole dynamic on its head.
It really does.
But before we get to the billionaire in the wheelchair and the secret mountain base, which we will definitely talk about.
Oh, we have to.
We have to start with the bodies. Because in the House of Cross, Patterson doesn't ease you in. It starts with bodies dropping immediately. And these are not random muggings gone wrong.
No, not at all. These are precision strikes. And they tell us immediately that we are dealing with a totally different class of criminal.
Yeah, highly organized.
Let's actually look at the first victim, Judge Emma Franklin.
Okay, let's set the scene for this one. We're in Alexandria, Virginia. Judge Franklin is a major figure. She's the only black woman on the D.C. Court of Appeals. She's on the fast track, just a total legal powerhouse.
And it's a normal evening.
Right. She gets home. Her driver, Agnes Pearson, is dropping her off in the driveway. Nothing out of the ordinary. And then suddenly there's a jogger.
A jogger. And this detail is so crucial to understanding how this organization operates. The killer is disguised as a completely generic, blonde, athletic woman.
She looks like half the population of those suburbs.
Exactly. She's wearing running gear, probably checking a smartwatch or looking at her phone. She's completely unassuming. You wouldn't look twice.
That is the perfect camouflage, isn't it? I mean, you don't look twice at a jogger in a nice neighborhood. You just move out of their way.
You might even wave at them.
Yeah.
And that's the point, until she draws a weapon. And the execution itself is chilling. It's a classic double tap. Bang, bang. Very professional, extremely efficient.
She doesn't just take out the judge, though.
No, she takes out the driver, Agnes, too. Just for being a witness. There's absolutely no hesitation.
So told.
It is. This isn't a crime of passion where someone is screaming and shouting, making a scene. It's a transaction, a box being checked off a list.
And then, just to show the absolute reach of this organization, we jump all the way across the country to the West Coast. San Francisco.
Right, a completely different vibe.
And a different kind of victim. Judge Bitgarampak. Now, this guy is a real character. He's not your stuffy, quiet, robe-wearing archetype at all.
He really isn't. The book describes him as a former wrestler, very flamboyant, living a very, let's say, complex personal life.
Right, he's involved in polyamory. He apparently has significant gambling debts.
In the intelligence world, we would call a profile like that a target-rich environment.
A target-rich environment. I like that. Meaning he's super easy to blackmail.
Exactly. If the goal is just political maneuvering, a scandal is so much cleaner. If you just wanted to ruin him or get him off the bench, you'd leak photos of his personal life, you'd expose the gambling debts to the press, you'd destroy his career with a scandal and force him to resign.
It happens all the time.
Right. But the killer, the same woman, this jogger, doesn't go for the scandal. She actually stabs him to death right near the Symphony Hall in San Francisco.
A stabbing feels so much more personal to me. And a lot messier than a clean shooting.
It does feel more intimate, yes, but it also sends a totally different message, a message of sheer brutality. It says, we aren't just trying to remove you from power, we are erasing you.
That makes sense. And then we have the third victim.
Professor Nathan Carver?
Right, in Athens, Georgia. He's a constitutional law professor, supposedly a potential first American Indian justice.
And he's gunned down right after dinner. But here's the kicker, and this is where the plot really gets interesting. The killer leaves a message this time.
Yes. Before killing Carver, the assassin, who we later identify as Katrina White, is actually recorded saying something. She says, "Maestro knows what you've done. It's over."
Maestro. That name just hangs there in the air.
It sounds so theatrical.
It sounds orchestrated. Pun intended. It implies a conductor, someone who is standing back and pulling the strings of a very large, very complex symphony of violence.
And the connection between Franklin, Pack, and Carver isn't obvious at first. It's not like they knew each other socially.
Yeah.
They weren't in a secret club together hanging out on weekends.
No, the connection is much more high level than that, and honestly much scarier. They were all on a top secret vetting list for the U.S. Supreme Court under the incoming administration.
Which is just a massive breach of national security. That list is supposed to be the holy of holies in D.C.
It is tightly guarded. If someone has that list, they aren't just a street criminal. They're inside the system. They are actively hunting potential Supreme Court justices.
It's a coup by attrition.
That's exactly what it is. Someone is trying to curate the Supreme Court by physically eliminating the candidates they don't approve of before they even get nominated.
And the person pulling the trigger for all of this, Katrina White, she isn't just a standard hitman you hire off the dark web.
Far from it. The book refers to her as a sparrow.
Okay, you have to explain that term to me.
Yeah.
Because when I hear sparrow, I think of a cute little bird at a feeder, or maybe Captain Jack Sparrow.
Right.
And this woman is definitely neither of those things.
No, she is not. Sparrow is a term with really deep roots in actual Cold War espionage. It refers to female agents who were specifically trained in the arts of seduction, psychology, and stealth. They were usually associated with the Russian intelligence services, like the GRU or the KGB.
So these are spies who are basically trained to be weaponized intimacy.
Weaponized intimacy is a great way to phrase it. They are chameleons. They are trained from a young age to identify exactly what a target needs. Maybe the target needs a lover or a confidant, a friend, or maybe they just need to see a harmless jogger passing by their driveway.
And they just become that thing.
Exactly. Katrina White is a former GRU sparrow. She creates this vacuum of suspicion around her until it's far too late for the target to react.
And the fact that she's working for this maestro figure, it suggests that this organization has incredibly deep pockets and global reach. You don't just hire a former GRU sparrow on a gig economy app.
You certainly don't. It elevates the threat level significantly for Alex Cross. We aren't dealing with a local street gang or even a typical organized crime syndicate.
No.
We are dealing with state-level capabilities being used for completely private ends.
Which leads us directly to the money and the tech.
Yes. Enter Ryan Malcolm.
The antagonist of the story, or I guess in his own mind, the savior of the American Republic.
That's how he sees himself.
The man, the myth, the dead guy.
Right, because early in the book, we get this official report that Ryan Malcolm has died in a fiery van crash in Nevada during a snowstorm.
It's a classic misdirection.
It is. But let's actually profile Malcolm before we bury him in the narrative. He's the founder of a company called Paladin. Now, Paladin isn't just a tech company like a Facebook or a Google where they sell ads.
No, it's much darker.
Paladin is a highly specialized data mining firm that contracts specifically for the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI.
So he literally holds the keys to the kingdom. You have access to everything.
Think of it this way. The U.S. intelligence agencies collect petabytes of data every single day. Text messages, emails, location pings, financial transfers. It is way too much for human analysts to ever read.
Obviously.
So Paladin provides the algorithms, the artificial intelligence that sifts through that massive haystack to find the needle. They identify terror threats, financial crimes, hidden patterns of behavior.
So Ryan Malcolm effectively owns the haystack, the needle, and the magnet used to find it.
He does. And personally, he describes himself as a man of intellect. Physically, he uses a wheelchair due to muscular dystrophy. He's frail in body, but his mind is incredibly sharp. And yes, the entire world believes he died in that crash in Nevada.
But Alex Cross and his wife, Bree Stone, they aren't buying it.
Especially Bree. She is relentless.
She really is. She has this pure detective's instinct that Malcolm is the leader of Maestro.
And this is where we get a twist that Patterson loves to throw in, but he adds a very dark psychological layering to it here. The evil twin trope.
Yes. We find out Malcolm has a twin brother named Sean.
Who later goes by the name Ian Duncanson.
Right. And the dynamic between these two brothers is just so disturbing.
It goes back to their childhood. We learn they suffered severe abuse by their parents, and then the parents were murdered.
And the implication is incredibly strong that the twins killed them, right?
Yes, it's sort of a Menendez brothers meets the Social Network situation.
Wow, that is a grim comparison, but it is totally accurate.
Ryan claims that Sean was always the evil one. He actually tells Cross that Sean was the one using the Paladin tech to target child molesters and sadists, a sort of dark vigilante justice.
Well, Ryan claims he only cares about order.
Order. That is always the word villains use when they want to play God, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. I'm just bringing order to the chaos.
It is the core justification for every authoritarian regime in human history. Malcolm creates this narrative where he is the rational, benevolent genius, and his brother is the chaotic thug who couldn't control himself.
But as we dig deeper into the book, you have to ask yourself, who is actually scarier here? The thug who beats you up in an alley, or the genius who can just erase your entire existence from the global database with a keystroke?
Honestly, I'll take the thug any day. At least I can see him coming.
Exactly. So the investigation splits into two prongs at this point, which I love because it gives us a chance to see the whole cross-family dynamic at work. You got Team DC and Team West.
Let's start with Team DC. That's Alex Cross and Ned Mahoney from the FBI. They are focusing purely on the murders of the judges, the political angle of the conspiracy.
Right. They start tracking down this vetting list. They visit a place called the Trafalgar Group, and they speak to Geneva Roche, finding out that all the victims were actively being vetted for the court.
Which leads them to a character who feels like she just walked straight out of a high-stakes primetime soap opera.
Teresa May Alcott.
Yes, the billionaire aunt of the Malcolm twins. And she just happens to sit on the advisory panel for the judicial nominations.
What a coincidence. She is incredibly regal, imperious, just living on this massive, isolated ranch in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Cross and Mahoney go out there to question her, and she is just a stone wall.
Totally cold.
She's highly secretive about her nephews. You really get the sense during that interview that she knows exactly where all the bodies are buried because she probably paid for the shovels.
Oh, she definitely funded the operation. She represents that old money shielding the new tech. She is the bridge between the political establishment and the algorithm.
She literally put the targets in front of Malcolm, essentially.
Right. But while Cross is hitting these stone walls out in D.C. and Wyoming, Team West, which is Bree Stone and John Sampson, is actually following the money trail.
And Bree is such a powerhouse in this book. She is doing the real grunt work.
She's the one who links a totally random Brazilian shell company called O Casado Cattle Company to the properties owned by Malcolm.
It's brilliant detective work. Specifically, it's forensic accounting, which isn't always glamorous, but it breaks cases. She realizes that this Brazilian cattle company, which has absolutely no legitimate business-owning property in the U.S., actually owns the crash site in Nevada where Malcolm supposedly died.
And they own another ranch in Colorado that was involved in some previous cartel violence.
Right. It's always the shell companies.
Always. If you see a Brazilian cattle company buying frozen tundra in Nevada, you should probably ask some questions.
Exactly. So Bree and Sampson, they fly out to Elko, Nevada. They go directly to the crash site.
And Sampson, being this highly experienced homicide detective, he just looks at the scene, looks at the skid marks and says, nope, That wasn't an accident.
Physics in the crash just didn't add up to him.
So they keep pushing. They follow the real trail. They track clues up to Idaho, specifically Salmon and North Fork. They're getting so close to the truth about the twin brother.
But they get a little too close.
Yeah, they do. They get ambushed by a guy who calls himself a janitor.
A man named Toomey. He calls himself a janitor, but in reality, he's a cleaner for Maestro. Highly trained, heavily armed, completely ruthless.
And this leads to one of the most stressful parts of the entire book. Bree and Sampson are captured.
It's tense. They are drugged, thrown into a vehicle, and taken to this secret base.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Sampson manages to leave a breadcrumb.
The geobit.
The geobit. I love this detail so much. It's literally a GPS tracker for kids, like the little plastic thing you clip on your toddler's belt when you go to a crowded amusement park so you don't lose them.
It is.
Sampson's daughter, Willow, had put it in Alex's pack. Or actually, wait, let me look at the text here. It seems Sampson had the device on him, and he manages to leave it behind, and it ends up being the crucial piece of evidence for Alex finding them later. He finds it in his pocket.
Right. But hold on. We really need to think about the context here. We are dealing with Maestro. We are dealing with Paladin, literally the most advanced surveillance and counter-surveillance company on Earth.
Right.
They have military-grade jammers. They have signal blockers. They have tech we haven't even dreamed of yet. So how does a cheap piece of consumer plastic from Amazon beat them?
That is the million-dollar conflict.
It is a brilliant plot point by Patterson because it relies on the actual physics of radio frequencies. Maestro is jamming everything. Cellular signals, standard GPS, Wi-Fi, satellite phones. They are creating this massive electronic bubble of silence around their base.
Okay.
But the geobit, when it goes into its power-saving mode, it does something very specific. It doesn't broadcast a continuous signal. It transmits a location burst for only 10 seconds every 12 hours.
A 10-second burst. That is a tiny window.
It is microscopic in the grand scheme of electronic surveillance. And because the burst is so incredibly short and it's operating on a consumer frequency that might not be the primary target of their military-grade jammers, it just slips right through the net.
Because the bad guys are looking for continuous streams of data. They're looking for an active cell phone call. They completely miss the pulse.
It's the classic case of low-tech beating high-tech. The sheer arrogance of Maestro is that they believe they control the entire digital spectrum. They didn't account for a child's safety device ping.
It's the thermal exhaust port on the Death Star.
Exactly. A tiny, completely overlooked flaw that brings down the whole system.
So thanks to the geobed, Alex finally has a location. But Bree and Sampson are already inside the lion's den. And let's talk about this base for a minute.
We have to.
It's an abandoned mine complex hidden away on the Canadian border in Idaho.
Yeah.
But you get inside, and it's not some damp, dark cave.
Oh, no. It's a Bond villain lair updated for the 21st century tech bro.
Yeah.
It has pneumatic elevators, a fully stocked gourmet kitchen, massive floor-to-ceiling screens monitoring global data feeds in real time. It's sheer luxury buried deep inside the rock.
It really represents the ultimate isolation of the tech elite, doesn't it?
It perfectly captures it. They are literally living underground, physically disconnected from the actual human world that they are trying to control from their keyboards.
And lo and behold, when they get there, who's waiting for them?
Ryan Malcolm.
Alive and well.
Oh.
And not burnt to a crisp in a van in Nevada.
The whole death was a very elaborate ruse to escape government scrutiny, and presumably to finally get rid of his unstable brother, Sean.
And this brings us to the dinner scene.
I love this scene.
Yeah. I know, I love a good villain dinner scene. It's such a thriller trope. But Patterson uses it so well here. You have Cross, who eventually gets captured and brought in to Bree, and Sampson all sitting down at a table with Malcolm.
And Katrina White, the Sparrow assassin, who just brutally murdered 3 federal judges, is in the kitchen cooking their meal.
It's so surreal. Malcolm is sitting there drinking expensive wine, calmly discussing philosophy while his hit woman serves the appetizers.
He's trying to pitch them. That's the craziest part.
He's actually pitching them. He wants Alex Cross and Bree Stone to join his team.
He does, and his argument is, well, it's seductive, honestly, if you don't look too closely at the details. We really need to spend a moment on this because it's the philosophical core of the entire book.
Let's do it.
Malcolm argues to them that the justice system is fundamentally broken, it is corrupt, it is far too slow, it is bound by red tape, and the bad guys are winning.
He talks about how his algorithm successfully identified and eliminated human traffickers and violent cartels.
And let's be honest, in the moment, reading that, You almost want to nod along. You think, yeah, get the traffickers. The law couldn't touch them, so someone had to.
That is the ultimate trap of vigilantism, though.
Exactly. It always starts with targets that everyone universally agrees on. It creates this moral permission structure in your own mind. I'm killing monsters, therefore I am a hero.
But then Malcolm reveals the real reason why he killed the judges.
This is the turning point of the conversation. Why did he order the hit on Professor Carver?
Right, because Carver wasn't a cartel boss.
Not at all. He didn't kill Carver because he was corrupt. He didn't kill him because he was a criminal or because he hurt anyone. He killed him because Paladin's data predicted, and put a huge emphasis on the word predicted, that if Carver got on the Supreme Court, he might issue a ruling that would disrupt certain property rights and oil leases.
He assassinated a man for a future hypothetical judicial opinion.
Exactly. This is algorithmic morality taken to its absolute horrifying extreme. It's Minority Report, but privatized.
It is.
Malcolm truly believes that his data allows him to play God. He isn't actually punishing crime. He's proactively shaping history to fit his own personal vision of order. He killed an innocent law professor to protect an economic forecast.
That is terrifying, because it means you don't have to actually do anything wrong to be a target. You just have to be statistically likely to be inconvenient to his portfolio.
It's the ultimate hubris. Malcolm believes that because he can see the data streams, he somehow has the moral authority to act on them with lethal force.
And he completely misreads his audience at the table.
Completely. He says he values Cross, Stone, and Sampson because they are incorruptible. But he utterly fails to understand that their incorruptibility is exactly the reason why they can never, ever join him.
Right, because to a guy like Malcolm, incorruptible just means you can't be bought with money.
But to Alex Cross, incorruptible means you are completely faithful to the process. You are faithful to the law.
Even when the law fails.
Especially when the law fails. Because Cross knows that the alternative, Malcolm's dictatorship of the algorithm, is infinitely worse.
So naturally, the recruitment pitch fails spectacularly. Cross, Bree, and Sampson pretend to consider it for a second, or maybe they just flat out stare him down.
And Malcolm, being the gracious, benevolent host that he is, immediately orders their execution.
I think the line is, feed them to the ravens.
Very gruesome image, but this triggers the whole escape sequence, and it is incredibly chaotic.
It's a massive action set piece. We have Officer Fagan of the RCMP and Ned Mahoney finally arriving just in time. The cavalry is here, guns blazing in the snow.
But it's not a clean getaway by any means.
No, it's not. There's a massive shootout, and we get this really critical emotional moment. John Sampson is shot.
Oh, man. Sampson.
He's Alex's absolute rock. He's the physical and emotional anchor of this entire series. Whenever he is in danger, the stakes just skyrocket. And when he goes down, hit by Lucas Bean, who is this ex-ass mercenary working for Malcolm, it just stops your heart.
It completely changes the dynamic. Alex isn't just fighting for some abstract concept of justice anymore. He's fighting desperately to save his best friend's life.
And he uses psychology to do it. He realizes he has to outthink Malcolm because they are totally outgunned.
Gets on the radio system, right? The tactical helmet radio.
He does. He hacks into the frequency and he starts taunting Malcolm directly. He starts comparing Ryan to his evil brother Sean. He attacks his ego.
He says, you're just like him.
That is the ultimate button to push for Ryan Malcolm.
It totally throws Malcolm off balance. He deeply hates Sean. He hates that part of his history and what it says about him. By blurring the line between the genius Ryan and the psycho Sean, Alex makes Malcolm irrational. He forces him to act on emotion instead of logic.
And then comes the Geobit reveal.
Yes.
Malcolm is mocking Alex over the radio saying, you honestly thought a kid's GPS tracker would work against my billion-dollar fortress.
And Alex just casually drops the hammer. He's like, yeah, actually, it worked perfectly during your system's 12-hour reboot window.
It's such a great gotcha moment. You can just imagine the look on Malcolm's face. It completely shatters his illusion of control, and it forces him to initiate what he calls extreme measures.
Which is basically villain code for blow everything up.
The entire base self-destructs. A massive underground explosion.
And Malcolm manages to escape via a hidden helicopter, or at least he completely vanishes from the scene in the chaos.
So the base is totally gone. Sampson is bleeding out, but thankfully alive. And the main villain is in the wind.
But the book isn't over. We still have Inauguration Day rapidly approaching.
And Malcolm is dying anyway. We learn throughout the book that he's very ill, likely terminal.
But he's so obsessive, he wants one last strike to permanently shift the Supreme Court balance before he goes. He just can't leave his great work unfinished.
The new targets are Justice Mayweather, who is currently recovering in a hospital, and Justice Blevins.
And this section of the book is just incredibly tense. You have Katrina White, the Sparrow, infiltrating GW Hospital.
She disguises herself as a nurse named Cynthia.
And there's this really creepy, visceral detail where she notes the sour smell of death on Justice Mayweather.
She's literally like an apex predator sensing weakness in the herd. It's so unsettling.
And she uses a very specific weapon here that we should definitely explain to the listeners. It's a sonic device.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because it's not a gun, it's not a knife, it's not poison.
No, it's similar to the technology that has been suspected in the real-world Havana Syndrome incidents. It uses highly directed acoustic or microwave energy to directly affect the human nervous system or the heart.
It can literally induce heart failure without leaving a single physical mark on the body.
To a medical examiner performing an autopsy, it just looks like natural causes.
It's a ghost weapon.
Exactly. So she attacks Justice Mayweather, and then she immediately pivots to go for Justice Blevins,
And Blevins is out for a morning jog in the woods.
which perfectly mirrors the opening murder of Judge Franklin in her driveway.
The pattern is closing. We are right back to where we started on page 1.
But this time, Team Cross is actually ready for it. They deduce the pattern based on those Havana Syndrome-like symptoms that a sharp doctor noticed at the hospital. They realize the heart attack wasn't natural.
So Bree intercepts her. She confronts White out in the woods. It's a complete standoff. And this is the end of the Sparrow.
But she doesn't surrender. She bites down on a suicide capsule hidden in her mouth.
That is hardcore.
It really emphasizes the absolute fanaticism of the Maestro operatives. They aren't just mercenaries, they are true believers in the algorithm. Or at the very least, they're so terrified of what Malcolm would do to them that they would rather die than betray the organization.
So the Sparrow is finally down. But Malcolm is still out there.
Until Alex gets one final phone call.
Malcolm calls him directly.
He does. He admits that he is actively dying. He has maybe days to live. And he tells Cross, Maestro is over.
It's kind of a frustrating resolution in a way, isn't it? As a reader, you want to see him in handcuffs. But he doesn't go to prison. He doesn't face a jury of his peers. He just, well, he dies on his own terms.
It is frustrating, but it actually fits the thematic core of the book perfectly. Malcolm operated entirely outside the law his whole life. He truly believed he was above the law. It makes narrative sense that he would die outside of it, too.
He denies society the satisfaction of judging him.
Precisely.
But the really lingering question for me is about his legacy. Paladin. The company, the servers, the tech.
This is undoubtedly the most disturbing part of the entire ending. The government seizes the company,
The Ferrari of data mining.
the exact tool that allowed Malcolm to hunt federal judges, murder innocent people, and practically predict the future.
Right.
And now it is entirely in the hands of the NSA and the FBI.
Which, I mean, is that really a good thing?
That is exactly the provocative thought Patterson leaves us with. Malcolm was a monster, yes, but he used this tech to eliminate cartels and traffickers that the regular law couldn't touch.
And now the government has his tools.
Does the tool change just because the hand holding it changes?
If the NSA is running Paladin, do we have any privacy left at all? Or is Maestro just operating under new management with a government seal?
It's a genuinely chilling thought. We basically traded a private billionaire tyrant for a classified government superweapon. The lethal capability didn't disappear, it just got institutionalized.
Well, that is absolutely terrifying to think about. But let's try to end on a slightly lighter note.
Yes, please.
Sampson survives.
He does. He pulls through.
He reunites with his girlfriend Rebecca and his daughter Willow.
The emotional core of the series holds strong. The contrast at the end is really sharp. Think about it. The Malcolm twins died in complete isolation, totally consumed by their past trauma and their dark ambition.
But the Cross family, Alex, Bree, Sampson, they survive because they actually rely on each other.
Exactly. The strength of the chosen family unit versus the toxic, paranoid isolation of the lone genius.
I really love that. It's what keeps readers coming back to Alex Cross after 33 books. No matter how high-tech or abstract the threat gets, the final solution is always grounded in human connection.
Absolutely.
So, wrapping up, what would you say is the main takeaway here for our listeners?
I think it's really a lesson about fragility.
Fragility?
Yes. The House of Cross explores just how fragile our entire legal and societal system is when it faces vastly superior technology. We like to assume the law is this massive immovable object.
All right, like bedrock.
But this book shows that an algorithm with a sniper rifle can dismantle that bedrock in a week.
And it reminds us that justice and data are not the same thing at all. Data is cold. It's just numbers. Justice actually requires humanity.
Well said.
So if you want a really high-octane thriller that will make you look twice at your smart devices and maybe make you want to put some tape over your webcam tonight, definitely check out The House Across.
Just maybe don't go for a jog alone in the woods afterward.
Good point.
And definitely leave your kid's GPS tracker at home if you decide to visit any secret underground mountain bases.
Solid advice all around. Thanks so much for diving deep with us today.
It was always a pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, stay curious, stay safe, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.